you have to do is go to WeTalkWeekly.com, or all we need to do is go to YouTube, or all we need to do is turn on Business Bully channel, turn on Higher Than 7, turn on, we can find you. But sometimes I just want to work out and I want to listen to your podcast. I want to hear the latest in the sizzle, entertainment news, or good news and bad news, or just simply, I want to hear the interviews, some music, anything sports. I just want to listen. I don't know where to find your podcast. I said, you know what? It's real simple. All you have to do is ask the right person. Watch this. Hey Alexa, play We Talk Weekly's podcast.
Here's We Talk Weekly from Amazon Music. Here's where you left off in the latest episode. Olivia Jade Red Table Talk, Kevin Hart Backlash for Netflix special No F's Given, and more.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to We Talk Weekly's After the Talk. And I'm your boy Charles Gregory with the beautiful. And the beautiful.
Classy Lady Sparkle.
See, I told you. It's not that hard, ladies and gentlemen. All you have to do is ask the right person. Ask Alexa. Look, I'm out here. Thanks for watching. Keep supporting. Keep subscribing. Keep telling people to chime in. We out here like last year. Hello. We Talk Weeklies After the Talk on WPPMLP Philadelphia 106.5 FM. We Talk Weeklies After the Talk with your boy Charles Gregory and the beautiful
Classy Lady Sparkle.
and the beautiful
Lauren Sizzle.
and my guy for the night.
Ahmed Power Lewis.
There we go. That's my guy in the building. And so we're going to have a good time today. We got someone with whom I have a tremendous amount of respect for. I love the interviews. And why do I love the interviews? I said, you know what, Spark? We got to start with this today. Because I love my interviews. And why do I love the interviews? Because we get a chance to talk to the good old folk. The people who are really doing those things in those streets. Right? They in them streets and doing a thing, right? Working for the community, doing the due diligence, doing the policy stuff, doing the civic stuff, doing everything that we say that you need to be doing, right? And, I'm very hard on people, even like our candidates and people who come on the show and say, they want to come on the show, get endorsed and everything. And I'm saying, I don't see you in them streets. I see this young lady in them streets and doing some great work with them babies, right? And so without further ado, Classy Lady, who do we have today?
Tonight we have Angelique Hilton, a powerhouse in political and community organizing, someone dedicated to shaping the next generation of informed voters. As the co-founder of PA Youth Vote and a leader in mobilizing civil engagement through initiatives like My School Votes and When We All Vote, she's making a lasting impact on democracy. Come along as we delve deep into her mission and the power of voter advocacy. Y'all already know what to do. Let's give a warm We Talk Weekly welcome to Angelique Hilton.
Let's give a round of applause, y'all. How are you?
I'm great.
Fantastic. Now, we always start the show, right? We got to start the show with how are you? How's your day? How are you doing?
I'm great, actually. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and talk with all of you. Yeah. It's an interesting time for the work I do. So I take it hour by hour. But honestly, I'm excited in the sense that I feel like as all of these new policies are rolling out, it gives us an opportunity to really connect for people, young people in particular. That's who I'm primarily engaging, the importance, right, of policy and how it impacts you, right? And, elections have consequences. And whether or not you're participating, right, politics is going to impact you. And so it really allows us to connect the dots for them to understand the importance that elections have, voting and holding leaders accountable.
Yeah, I like that. One of the things that, we say that if you don't engage, right, if you're not civically engaged, right, then you can't complain later, right? It's one of those things where you have to, show the work, do the work, it's not scary. Some people think it's spooky, right? Go ahead.
But can I pause you on that?
Absolutely.
Because I want to be here for the people to say, right, that there is a lot of disparity in who is getting access to education around how government works and how policies impact you every single day. And so I don't know if you're aware, Pennsylvania was ruled unconstitutional by the Commonwealth Court back in 2023 for how they fund public education. And so primarily all of the school districts that are black and brown, right? Due to redlining, right? We're in these communities that have lower property values. As a result, we are grossly underfunded when it comes to our public education. And on top of all of the other things that our students are not getting, civics is also something else that they're not giving. And so there's a cycle, right? They grow up, they're not having that education to understand. So then they grow up to be in these communities, they're not voting. And because they're not voting, then elected leaders do not feel like they're a threat to them staying in power. And so they're not being responsive to those communities. And so it's a cycle, which is very much what we're trying to break in the work that we're doing.
Absolutely, and I agree with that. I think it's a community thing, right? I won't place it all on quote unquote leadership, right? I won't place it all on them. But what I will say is that you, myself, mom, dad, the community, that's part of the civics. That's part of the engagement of the community. And if we don't do that, then who do we hold accountable, right? One of the things that we have, or one of the questions that we ask is why no one knows about, especially our young people. How come they don't know about who our ward leaders are? Something as simple as that, right? Who our block captains are, who are city council and state reps, who are these people, right? Especially during a time of election when they finally want to show themselves, right? But who do we hold accountable to educate the community? Who do we do?
So I think, again, I'll go back to it starts with the education you get in school, right?
Okay.
And so when you grow up and you're living in these communities, right, you're not educated about who does what. I was previously the NAACP president in Norristown.
Give you a round of applause for that, yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised how many adults don't even understand who does what.
That's right.
Right? Because they are tired of participating in a process that never seems to be reflective of or responsive to them.
That's right.
And so we really need to kind of hold all of ourselves accountable,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
Our leaders definitely have a role to play to make sure that there is equitable access to education around all of this, right? And then we do need to go into our communities and even adults in these communities that have kind of given up on this process. We got to go back and educate them on how especially local elections, directly impact them every single day. And they don't really understand that. And it just has a lot to do with the lack of education. And again, that cycle that I talked about, right? I live in Montgomery County, second wealthiest county in the state. Right? But you have pockets of great impoverishment, like Norristown, which is where I grew up. Right? And so all around Norristown, there is great wealth, right? Mostly white affluent communities, right? All of those people are in schools that are very well funded because they are taught how government works, right? They know how to hold leaders accountable. And so you will see great resources, open spaces, schools well funded. But then you go back to places like Norristown and Pottstown where the black and brown people live, right? Not educated about this process. Because they're not educated, they're not voting. Because they're not voting, there is just great impoverishment and disenfranchisement. I'm talking no recreational programming. School district is underfunded. Our library is falling apart, which serves as the place where most of our unhoused people live who we're giving tents to. And then we're spending $500 million on a courthouse that just locks up black and brown people, right, all day long. And again, it's tied directly to the fact that they're not educated. They've given up on this system that never really, they don't see people that look like them and they're not responding to them. And so then elected leaders take advantage of that, right, because it allows them to just focus on the people that they do know who hold them accountable, which sadly don't look like most of the people in this room.
Yeah, you cooking with grease. I just want, I'm trying to find, I got Lauren Sizzle. I'm trying to find the sizzle right here. Oh, let me find it. Do I got the sizzle? Hold on. There we go. She's cooking right now. She's cooking. And so, I wanna talk a little bit about civic engagement real quick. You're part of the initiative that we're all a part of, Every Voice, Every Vote. And there's two questions I want to ask. One, how do you define being civically engaged, right? And two, what is the responsibility you believe you have as a leader in this space to make sure that we continue to educate those about civics?
So good questions. I will start with the last one first, right? So I think my role and my responsibility is to come at this very nonpartisan, right? I am there to educate you, right? To help you understand how this is connected and a source of empowerment, right? When we participate, but making sure that I'm staying away from the politics and focusing on policy. Right? So that's first. Secondly, civic engagement for us, working with young people, and I think wherever you're doing this work, right, needs to meet the community where they are, right? And it needs to focus every election cycle. So every election cycle, we say, this is what's on the ballot, right? These are the seats that are up for election, and this is how it is directly, these seats are directly connected to the issues that you have told us you care about. And so young people care very much about racial justice, right? That's one of their issues. Judges are on the ballot this time. So you better believe we're going to make sure they understand the role they play, right, in getting racial justice, right, in getting a more equal justice system. Understanding in Pennsylvania, we vote, unlike some states, for judges, right? So we make sure that they understand that. So it's about educating, because that is critically important, and our communities are not getting access to that, right? And then it's also meeting them where they are to engage in the way they like to receive information. So young people, they love social media, right? So we're doing on social media, providing information, pushing it out that way. We're teaching them how to do TikToks because it's voting, right? And we always like to make sure they understand the and, right? It's continual engagement that we have to do to get these leaders to be responsive. So we're going to make sure you have all of the nonpartisan information, connecting it to the issues you care about, right? You're going to vote. And then we're going to make sure you understand that after these people are in office, there are things we have to do to hold them accountable. So writing op-eds, right? Testifying to the school board, right? We even just wrote curriculum recently on for students to learn how to be part of the budget process, right? How to testify about community investment that you want to see, which, you know, we hear a lot about violence, but we don't always hear about the root causes. So community investments, we know there's data that shows that will tamper that down. So teaching them how to directly talk to elected leaders, right, in constructive ways to advocate for themselves. And that's continual, right? We have to keep doing these things because elected leaders are only going to be as good as we demand them to be.
That's right.
And if we're not asking anything, right, power concedes nothing without a demand. So we make sure they understand that. And then we do really cool engagement events at like GOTV when we're trying to get them to vote. So like last year we did a whole field day at Martin Luther King. It was like a civic themed field day where we had them outside, we had a DJ, and we had lots of different stations, all civic theme, but also very fun, right? Really trying to make sure young people are being engaged in a way that, you know, it will resonate for them, right? And so all of these communities have to figure out what that looks like, right? To be able to send trusted messengers in to meet people where they are, and then again, provide education and engagement in a way that makes it relevant, right? So it will resonate with them and they will understand that when we're not voting and when we're not holding leaders accountable, we are never going to be the priority of people that are in power.
So if they ask you the question, what is civics? Miss Angelique, I need to know, what does civics mean? What would you tell them?
It would be basically helping them understand how government works.
Fantastic.
Right? And the part that we play as citizens in making it work better and making it more responsive to us.
Yeah. So you're saying, and this is my last question as it relates to that, you're saying a lot about we, right? So I want you to amplify your organization and what you do there, because that's very important, very prominent. And what we like to do here is just amplify those people who's doing a great work. So why don't you talk a little bit about your organization?
So PA Youth Vote is a nonpartisan nonprofit. We work year round, making sure that young people, again, are civically engaged, getting that education. Every election, we have 2 every year. We're continually engaging them in ways that are nonpartisan to make sure that they are informed, right, and able to be educated voters, and then doing the engagement to also make sure that they are turning out and voting and also know how to advocate for themselves and hold leaders accountable to being responsive to the things they want to see in their communities.
Let's give her a round of applause for that right there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I was going to say shout out to Martin Luther King, my alma mater. So
Oh yeah,
yeah.
it was so fun. We actually we were actually a feature on Good Morning America that day. They came out.
Oh wow, nice, nice.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Martin Luther King, a lot of kids feel like young people feel like their vote doesn't count, the system is rigged, and they're like, "Hey, I'm not gonna vote," because they talk about the electoral votes and all these other things. They feel like their vote doesn't count. What would you tell that young person to tell them your vote counts? This is why.
I will tell them I worked in the Senate's office, right? One of the state senators. And the first thing we did was figured out who voted. And that is how we determine where our resources are going to go, where our grants are going to go, where our time was going to be spent. And so what political leaders do is they figure out who is voting and who is not. And if your community is not voting, right, you will not be a priority. And the things you want to see done in your community will never be urgent to elected leaders. You are not a threat to them staying in power if you're not voting. So it's really when you're not voting, sadly, that your community and the things you want to see won't matter to them, because they're going to focus on who is voting. And usually that's, let's be honest, it's usually older, white, right? And so that is why you continue to see this disparity, because unless and until communities of color start, reducing that disparity, right, we're going to continue to see these inequities and inequalities.
And when you talk about community, you're talking about the playgrounds, the schools, and you're talking on local levels as well, not just the presidential election.
No, the local elections matter so much more. So all those things that I told you about in Norristown, right? These kids can go 5 minutes in any direction where people are voting, and they will see all of those things, right? But because Norristown continues to be a community that has been so disenfranchised, they've become very disenchanted and not participating, right? It allows leaders to just deprioritize all of the things that those kids need to see or want to see in their communities, right? So it's really like they are paying attention. The first thing you do, if you for those that know how to reach out to their elected leaders, right, the first thing they do is see if you're a voter. And if you're not a voter, you're not going to be a priority. So when we're not voting, and right now we are not voting, right, in, anywhere near equitable numbers to other communities, which is why you continue to see elected leaders feeling like they don't need to be respectful or responsive to our communities.
I got one last question. We did a story on the Real ID, and they're saying now you're going to have to use the Real ID in order to vote. Do you think that that's like something that's making it harder, especially for the elders who don't have a lot of the 6 points to be able to get that type of documentation to vote?
Yes, that is going to definitely make it a lot harder, especially for Black people, people that grew up, some of them in the South, women who have been married, right? So that is going to make it much harder. But again, I think what we need to do is we really, in this moment, need to figure out how to come together and be very strategic, right, in making sure our communities are educated about all of these things to try to provide what we need to ensure we are, registered and ready to vote. Because unless and until we show up in numbers that, again, make elected leaders understand, we will vote them out, right? They're going to continue to do things that are not going to be in the best interest of our communities.
That's right.
Since you mentioned educating, a lot of our audience are, they're in tune to the things that we report on, and a lot of them are often really engaged in what's going on. So for like the parents that are listening at home and they want to do things to support their youth, what are some things, based on your experience that you can say parents can do to kind of assist? Because how we always say it starts at home. So what can parents do to assist their young person when it comes to helping them be civically engaged?
So I think a lot of our parents, in all honesty, need to educate themselves, right? Because we don't know how government works. It's not to, frown upon us, right? We have been a community that has been just very disenfranchised by government. And so, like I said, many of us don't really know who does what in government. So it starts with educating yourself, right? And bring the kids along with you, right? And then there are different ways, like PAYouthVote, send them to, come to our website. We have lots of youth, focused resources, right? Every vote, voice, every vote. Like we are really, there's bringing together information, education, but I think it really starts with kind of like all of us really trying to understand what is this thing called democracy, right? What is it? Right? And how is it supposed to work for us? And how do we really understand the system and start to make it work for our communities and to make sure that our kids, because I'm going to tell you, as far as education, right, this inequitable access to education, I believe, is the civil rights issue of our time, right? I am engaging young people. Primarily, we are very strategic in our work. So we only go into school districts that have large populations of students of color, right? Black, brown, underfunded school district. But I have had conversations with students that are in Lower Marion, right? And the disparity between the preparedness is tragic.
Yes,
And when we had COVID, those kids that are out there in the suburbs in very well-funded schools, they went virtual in 2 days. Philadelphia, Norristown, it took months. Many of those kids never came back. And when I tell you, when you're talking about going out and competing for jobs and to get into college, we are grossly unprepared because we have decided in Pennsylvania that we're going to, and across this country, in all honesty, that we're going to fund schools through property taxes. And when you look through, again, going back to policy, which is my thing, redlining, clustering us in communities with lower property values, right? We can never make up that difference. And it hits our kids in so many ways. And it is tragic what I'm seeing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can attest to that because especially with property taxes. So I have a house in the Poconos, and in the Poconos you have your property tax, and you also have the taxes that you have to pay for the school tax. So it don't matter whether you have children or whether you don't have children. You still have to pay those property tax. But even up there, the school system is so different. And one thing stuck out to me. I mean, everything that she said stuck out to me, but it's a specific word: accountability. We have to hold each other accountable. We have to hold ourselves accountable. And like you said, if you're not voting, you're not holding those people who are running, you're not holding their feet to the fire. You're not holding them accountable for the communities that they're supposed to be accountable for. So that really stuck out to me. I was sitting over here, my brain was kind of exploding when you said that, but I understood, and it just that word alone means so much, and it has such a deep definition that if you don't really think about it, you're not going to understand it. But even in life itself, you have to be able to have accountability for everything that you do. To everything there's a reaction. To every action there's a reaction. To every reaction there's an action. So what you were saying was hitting so close to home, and I think people really need to adhere to what you're saying. Because they got to understand, if you don't take action, if we don't take action in our communities, especially when it comes to the lower, voting, how can you expect something from nothing?
Exactly. And trust me, when we're not in council meetings, we're not in commissioner, like I'm in commissioner meeting, if we're not in school board meeting, there are people that are there and they're not looking for the same things that you want to see in your community or for your children. And so we need to be in those meetings, and we need to be holding those people accountable to being responsive to the things that our children need and deserve. And to go back really quickly on property taxes in schools, I just want to make sure that people understand this issue not only harms our children, but a lot of older Black people, right, and people of color lose their homes because they're in these communities that have to keep raising property taxes to try to get enough money to adequately fund schools, which they never will. But you have seniors lose their homes because they cannot make up this difference and they can't afford to pay the property taxes. So it's not just hurting our youngest people, it's hurting our seniors as well.
Yeah.
A lot of parents at one point used to, now that they got school choice, but you would take your child, you would put a fake address in just so that your child could go to somewhere as for a better school. So just to fill in the gap from what you see as far as legislation and specifically we'll speak about Philadelphia opposed to Pennsylvania, but Philadelphia being the fifth largest city throughout the country, what would you see, or what can you advise for our leadership to do in order to try to fill that gap? Where does that start? Minimum wage? Does that start with, like you said, maybe property taxes? Like, what is
I mean,
it?
I can tell you what young people in Philadelphia have said they care about, right? So they care very much about, gun violence, right? That's an issue that, plagues them all the time. But we educate them to help them understand how the budget and whether or not there's programming, whether or not, they care about youth, employment. They care about mental health supports, right? So they care about a lot of different things. I think overall, it's really to just start with generally making sure that our local government is being more responsive to the community and not these other interests that seem to be out there, right? That are funding their campaigns, right? Or whatever the case may be, right? It's really making sure that we have elected leaders, and so that's why we start with sending students to school board, right? Sending them, okay, if this is an issue and you care about, you don't feel like there's programming, we're going to teach you how to go to council and testify there, or we're going to write curriculum so you understand how to testify and be, as far as the budget, which is being, that process is in play right now. But really just starting with making sure that these elected leaders start seeing
And
us.
that's and I think, and people may not like this comment, but those electives that are in there, they come in there hungry, they come in there doing something, but then something changes, and it's like they overpromise and underdeliver. And then when we know where crime is high, guess what? More money coming. So sometimes they don't want that crime rate to go down because they don't want to stop getting the money that's supposed to come in that help with supposed resources. So that's where the voting comes in again, to hold these to hold these people accountable from a legislative perspective.
Yeah, and it starts with just showing up, because when you show up, they know you are watching, and then they're going to make decisions that they know, the community is going to approve of, right? But if we're never there, right, they kind of have this freedom to just kind of do whatever it is they feel like. Is best for the community, but they're not taking that information from the community because we're not there to provide it, right? So holding them accountable is not always going in and having this contentious conversation. It's saying also sometimes when they're doing the right thing, listen, we like that you did this or whatever, right? But we have to be present. We have to stay engaged. And a lot of times we do think the election happens and now we can just move on. It's a continual process that we have to participate in. So we are making sure that they know we are going to elect you, okay? But then we are also going to hold you accountable. And if you don't do your job, we will elect somebody else.
So with all of the changes that's coming down the pike, I guess, when it comes to the Department of Education, where do you see, I guess, like the youth at that point, and how does that align with the work that you're doing? Do you feel like there's going to be a change in what you have to do, or like?
Well, what I think is it's going to definitely impact communities like Philadelphia, like Norristown. Of course, we already know Black, brown communities are always the most severely harmed when things like this happen. And so we're going to have to wait and see because, there's a lot of things that get thrown around, and then there's reality of what actually sticks, right? And then we will have to be really relying on local leadership, right, to try to address some of these things, whether it's going to be less funding available, right, the needs of, we have, again, through that department, right, there is, students with special needs, right, like they are taking care of lower income schools. So all of those things, we have to see where we end up, and then we will have to look to our more local officials to see how they will then try to fill in some of those gaps, but we don't really know yet, because again, we have all of these things that are said, and then some of them end up being legal, some of them not, and so, sadly, we're in a position where we have to be ready, right? But we have to know now, even many people don't even know who their leaders are.
Yeah.
Right. So start now figuring out, like, you can go and literally, I deal with young people and they are so smart, but I'll sometimes just try like in my, Google, like, who's my state, who are my elected leaders, right? Who is my council person, right? Figure that out, right? So that when these things happen, we even know who to go to. You know what I mean? Because we are going to have to rely on our local officials at the state level, at the very local level, to address some of these things as the impact starts to come in to the community.
Yeah. I think we have to make sure the elected officials knows that there's people actually out there doing the work already, and that some people may come in thinking they have bright ideas, but it's already people out there in those spaces that's doing things that work, right? And I have seen time and time again where you have people come in and just kind of ignore what's going on in those spaces, thinking that they already have the answer, right? And so when we talk about accountability, it's important for like us to say, hey, slow down. This is working in North Philly. It might not work in South Philly. There's unique needs, right? Everyone isn't, we're not monoliths, right? We work in compartments sometimes, and certain things work for certain people. Things that's happening in Kensington is different than things that's happening in West Philadelphia. Certain things are the same, a lot of things aren't, right? And so when we're trying to combat crime, so to speak, it's a lot of things different that's happening in even Northeast that's happening here, right? And so I just like the idea of a full community engagement, right? People coming at the table without the arrogance, so to speak, right? And I know everything, and saying this is where we need to go to fix or to have a better Philadelphia. Just talking for Philly right now, right? Totally get it. So you amazing. We already passed the time, but you're amazing, and I love the things that you're doing. If you had, because one thing that we do here and we talk weekly, we always talk about not just or point the fingers as, you're the problem, but what are the solutions, right? And you named a lot of them, but coming from, for someone that's tuning in, right, and they saying, what are the five like hot button kind of like topics or action items we should do right now that we potentially can do on the surface, right, to start to make change? What would that be?
So I'd say start with, again, educating ourselves,
Right.
right? Start there. I'd say make connections,
Okay.
right, with people in the community that are doing engagement in whatever way, right? Like, I have done education after a church program, right? I have done them. AFL-CIO has brought me in when they're doing Canvas launches to help educate people. But I think, to your point, right, like, different things are happening in different places. So we need to be connected to one another, right? And then amplifying,
That's right.
right, what is happening in these different places. And so it's not okay if things are working here and they're not working here.
That's right.
Right? So we really have to bring community together to understand, like, together we're so much stronger. But then being coordinated, right, and supporting one another, and really, again, showing up for one another. I think that's another thing, because sometimes, like, something is going on here and no one is kind of showing up for them.
That's right.
Right? And
That's
it
right.
doesn't garner the attention it needs to really be on the radar. Right? And so I think really making sure, and that's why I love EVEV, is because they are making sure that the community is getting the information. I think we just need to do a better job of, one, again, providing the education about each election cycle, because you get all of this excitement about the presidential, right? And I'm like, listen, these local elections matter, because all of those things that I just told you about, those are decisions that the commissioners are making
That's right.
in Montgomery County, and council is making, right? The president doesn't have anything to do
Exactly.
with how that money is invested in your community, right? Or what's happening in your schools. So it's really just trying to make sure that we're connecting one another to the information, right, and the resources they need to be able, again, to be educated and informed, right? Making sure they understand the importance of voting, and then we are showing up, right? Because we get tired, and this is a lot, and we have jobs and we're already right underserved and under resourced.
right.
But we got to find the energy.
That's right.
Because other people they have plenty of energy. Right, I go in, Montgomery County, some of those meetings, and the things people are saying,
Yeah.
right? Like, and we're not in that room.
That's right,
And
that's
so
right.
we have to figure out, if you can't make it, somebody's going to be there, right?
That's right.
And then we're going to educate one another on what happened at that meeting, right? And then
That's
we're
right.
going to follow up. So that's what I would say is really, I'm really trying to see if we can't, from a civics perspective, right? And it doesn't
Yeah.
have to look like some textbooks, right? It's really connecting the dots for people between these people and how what they do really impacts you, right? And the importance of knowing who those people are and then how to hold them accountable. But like coming together in a coordinated way, right, as a community to make sure that we are going to be empowered and we are going to be voting and we are going to be holding leaders accountable. Because again, if we continue to have this disparity between us turning out and other communities, we're going to continue to see ourselves and our children and our seniors, right, all the way to the back of every metric. Right. That I saw a lot when I was the president of the NAACP, and where we end up when it comes to all of these social determinants of health, right, and all of these measurements, Black people still always end up
That's
right
right.
at the
At the
end,
bottom, yep.
at the bottom.
That's
And so let's make a concerted effort to say, no, we're not going to continue to do that, right? We're going to educate ourselves and we're going to educate our neighbor, right? Start there. Just go and talk to your neighbor about all this. And then, go to church, wherever it is, because unless and until we do that, I can promise you, nothing is going to change for us.
And speaking about your background, you had, 2 decades at Vanguard?
Yes. And
Amazing.
yeah.
And I tell my kids all the time, education is the next currency, which is what you're talking about with the resources. And being in that type of field with high network clients, what part of that corporate background has now, transferred over those skills to what you're doing now to really say, hey, I've seen what this can do and what it can help, because you've already had those examples.
So it was interesting because I came from Norristown. I grew up very impoverished, right? Like low income. I had, underfunded school district. And so here I was, I went and worked at Vanguard, and, I ended up working in a ultra high net worth client facing group. So all of my clients had $5 million or more.
Wow.
Right. And it was a asset management services department where they pay you to manage their assets. Right. And so we created trusts so they could bequeath wealth to their children.
Say that again.
Trust, right? And we did tax loss harvesting transactions so they could pay less in taxes. And we made exceptions to every rule because they were very wealthy. And so I saw not only in those laws and policies and how that enabled them to bequeath wealth and pay less in taxes, like, I also saw that most of the people that I worked with came from more educated backgrounds, more affluent, homes, right? And so it made me always feel insecure and less than, right? Culturally, it was very different than what I came from. And so, I honestly felt like for 20 years, I would check my Blackness at the door.
I worked at Vanguard. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I did the
It
Series
was-
66 and didn't pass.
Yeah, and I had to pass that when I
was
think
hard.
my son was not even a year old. He was an
See.
infant, and I had to pass that test, and I did, and I worked there for 20 years. I
Go,
ended up
girl.
getting the highest award that they
Go
offered.
see.
But it was a struggle, but I came out of that after seeing that, knowing I needed to do something more purposeful.
Right.
And so then I did political organizing. And again, I helped many people where I live get elected, only to find that once they got in office, right, all of these ideas they had that looked like they were going to help the community from which I came changed, because now we're going to figure out who voted, and that's what we're going to focus on. Right. And so that is what drove me to take all of what I've seen and then drive it to the work that I'm doing now to help people understand, that all of these inequities, inequalities are the result of policy, and that policy got us into this situation, and policy is going to have to get us out.
I want you to talk a little bit before we let you leave, a little bit about Michelle Obama's organization that you participated in. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So in 2020, after I helped these people get elected, and then I realized they were not going to serve my community, so I couldn't do that anymore. So then I got hired in 2020 to work for Michelle Obama's organization.
Nice.
You remember 2020, it was awful, right? And so I was supposed to go into schools and do voter registration, right? It was a new initiative called My School Votes that they were launching out of When We All Vote. And so I think I talked to 6 teachers before school shut down. And it was interesting. They just wanted to do more voter registration. And I think, for Michelle Obama, right, like the kind of work that we do is very nonpartisan and not political. But I think for her, she has to really kind of protect herself,
Yeah,
right? Because sometimes people want to say something other
Right.
than what we're doing. And so it was really just about voter registration. And so I talked to like 6 different teachers, and they were like, I don't need you to do voter registration. I can register my own students. I need you to help them understand why they should be voting. And so that is what we then started doing, is connecting young people, because I had all these political contacts, right? So I would start bringing them on to Zoom calls. Like, you're a council person. Tell them what you do. Tell them how you are supposed to impact their community. And so that was how we started. And then after 2020, when my contract ended, we founded PA Youth Vote to provide that why. And so that is what we have been doing since then, is providing that why and connecting those dots for young people.
Something just hit me. When you were just talking about that, why don't schools have it where you have a council person, that you have, they have it where you have votes, but they should have it where it's almost like identical to what the local and state voting is?
So our schools, going back to the previous conversation, are grossly underfunded. They are grossly underfunded. And when I tell you, that means they don't have enough teachers, they don't have enough they don't have any counselors, they don't have, their books are outdated. Even stuff like their school sporting, out where you play football, right? Your equipment or your workout room is nowhere near what it needs to be, and certainly not what they have out like in Central Bucks. And you have to compete against them. And so, there are so many things. And then we're in communities, right? The students that go to our schools are in communities that are under-resourced, again, because we're not voting, right? And so they're dealing with the results of all of that. And so it's a lot of times it's trauma that's just coming into the schools. And you're now in an under-resourced school with teachers who are literally having to triage that all day. So taking this on,
they can't even
they
teach.
cannot,
They can't, yeah.
they cannot. So that's why we go in to schools and we provide all of this information. We get funding, we pay students stipends to work with us and learn all of this, and they become ambassadors and do peer-to-peer engagement. Now I will say Philadelphia, because I love to give props. Philadelphia has been extremely collaborative and really is a model for other places. And so we have a partnership with Philadelphia School District. And so what they do is they actually will pay a teacher in every high school that will work with us, that has a teacher available to do it, to work with us and partner with us. We create resources, we create curriculum, we go in and do presentations. We will get students that are in those schools to do voter engagement work. We pay them stipends, because we pay them stipends for everything they do. So Philadelphia School District, and even those events like the field day, right? Or we do this huge march every year. You guys watch out. On National Early Vote Day, one of the things we do is we go in, and we do the education, right, going up to the general election. Then the commissioners come out, because they've also been very good at partnering with us, right? They do the early vote kind of, conversation, because some of these students are going to college, right? Or they're going to go to work. So let's teach you about this process, because if you go to college and you still want to vote on what's happening in Philadelphia, you can, but you have to use this process. Anyway, so we do all of that. The commissioners take the applications back, process them, pull them, and then the school district partners with us. We bring all of the kids that we've worked with that school year. The school district buses them down to Love Park, and then they shut the streets down around City Hall. We have a drum line and signs and flags, and they literally take over the street and walk around, and then we have students vote early on National Early Vote Day. And then it becomes a big party with a purpose. So we had diamond cuts there, food, swag, right? And then a lineup of student speakers that speak to the importance of voting right? And also holding those people in City Hall accountable. So Philadelphia School District has been great, but some of these other school districts just have not been able to do that, like Norristown, and they're finding other ways to work with us. But to answer your question, these teachers are overwhelmed. And they don't have the capacity to do one more thing.
Right.
I've gone into some of these schools, and it's a shame.
Yeah. What's the legacy you want to leave?
I'm sorry.
What's the legacy you would like to leave?
That I have educated and empowered my community, right? I like to work with young people in addition to the work that we're doing around voting, right? We are creating young leaders, right? We are helping young people. Our first students that were in 2020, going back to that year, right? Cameron was one of our first. She worked with us a little bit. She went off to college, right? She is now our director of programming at 24 years old, right? And then we have a student like Zion, another example. He came with us to 2020, so shy, wouldn't even turn his camera on Zoom, right? Little by little, though, the community, right, he built. So a lot of what we do in the summertime is we pay them, they get stipends, they go out and do tabling at community events, which is so fun because they're you see them on our social media page, they're line dancing, right? But they're also doing voter engagement with people from the community. So anyway, so Zion started getting really comfortable and confident in that. So he went to college, came back. That next year I said, okay, you're going to do the press conferences for the organization. He was so nervous. No, we'll help you. Don't worry. This is the context. You have about this much time. Write something up. We'll wordsmith it. So the first one he did that year, he was so nervous. But by the end of the year, we ran a full day programming for the mayor's Office of Youth Engagement. And he had to do a press conference with the mayor of Philadelphia. When I tell y'all, he walked up there to the front of that room, right? Young black guy. He walked up there and walked off like a boss. It was like I was in tears. Now, fast forward to today, right? He is now the president of the student body at Penn State main campus. Okay? And he has done internships in Japan and Cancun.
There you go.
And it has all to do with the work we do to not only make sure they understand this as a source of empowerment, but also to give them the confidence to know that we have to be able to walk in every room and constructively advocate for ourselves and have the confidence to do that. And so that's a lot of the work, is that we are empowering young people to have that confidence to walk into any room and be able to constructively advocate for themselves and their communities.
Yeah, fantastic. And go ahead.
One last thing. Since the primary election is just right around the corner, can you tell our listeners about the student poll worker program?
Yeah, so basically what it is Philadelphia will pay students 17. You can be 17, and you can then go in, and what you'll do is you'll be trained, and then you will actually work on election day at one of the polling places. The pay is pretty well. I think it was around $300 last election cycle, so they make a point. Commissioner Sabir has been a great partner on this to make sure that young people, and so, it's a really, a good way to get young people out there. They're off school anyway. They get paid. They get, training. And I think they also make a point to let young people have a preference over where they're going to work, too.
That's nice.
Yeah, fantastic.
Awesome.
We talk weeklies after the talk of WPPMLP Philadelphia 106.5 FM. We talk weeklies after the talk with your boy Charles Gregory and the beautiful.
Classy lady.
And the beautiful.
Lars.
And my guy.
Power.
So listen, I just want to thank you for coming to the show. I think what you're doing is amazing, and anything you believe, especially as it relates to media, if we can amplify you, let us know, because we do have a young arm. Would you like to tell her about YCN?
So we started a pilot program called Youth Civic News, where we had several students who were trained in media literacy, content creation, and civic engagement and education, journalism. We had a curriculum and all of that, and they were able to put together their own content about civic news, a lot of the things that were happening in Philadelphia. And that's it was a pilot program, and we want to kind of be able to extend that again, possibly partnering with the school district of Philadelphia and expanding it to where it's throughout the school year.
Yeah, I would love to talk to you more about that offline.
Yes.
We do bring in, what we do is we do have some students specifically interested, right? We realize that is a skill, for young people to have. And so, we're also thinking about that and trying to give them opportunities, right? And a way to contribute the community voice, young people from the community's
Yes.
voice, because I think that's so important. So I would love to talk to you about that offline.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
So how can they
much.
get in contact and find some more about you and the organization and all that good old stuff?
So we are at PA Youth Vote on all social media platforms. You can reach out at info@pauyouthvote.org is another way. Again, definitely Instagram. We have young people. So I always like to say, if you reach out and DM, they will respond.
They slide in their DM, right?
Yeah. So yeah, and I'd like to say anybody that is interested in partnering, collaborating, we have been able to do so much more. I personally believe collaboration is going to save this
Absolutely.
nation. So anybody that's interested, we have been very creative in the ways we've been able to partner. And so please reach out and let's talk about it.
Fantastic,
Wonderful.
fantastic. And that's exactly why we do what we do here on We Talk Weekly. We give them platforms, give people like yourself platforms so you can say that information and people can see it through our networks and we can expand that reach. And so we'd like to thank you for coming to the show.
Thank you
It
so
was a
much for
pleasure.
having me.
And so since we have been talking about young people, we're going to go out to a real quick break with our young journalist, Willow. We'll be right back after this show.
Hi, I'm Willow Jordan with Youth Civic News, and I'm here with my grandfather.
Willie Jordan.
And G-Pop, what brings you out tonight?
Well, I'm here to discuss the importance of the election that's coming up, and important of responsibility that we have to do is get out to vote.
What is your role?
I wear many hats, but one is a community activist, and that means to keep people aware and make them informed on the issues of the day so they can come out and make a good choice on voting for the right candidates.
What are some of the issues you see?
Housing, education, transportation. There's a lot of things. Anything that we do in our lives has to do with elections, politicians, elected officials making those decisions. The amount of time that you stay in school and the amount of days you stay in school is based on what some elected official came up with.
How important is it to vote?
It is very important. It's not just important, it's responsible. Voting is not a selfish activity. It's a selfless. You vote to help others. So as you help others, people help you, and it'll be a better world, a better city, a better country to live in.
Where do some of your beliefs come from?
Well, my belief is based on, I would first come from my home training. My parents told me the importance of civic responsibility, caring, loving, sharing, being involved, being responsible on your actions.
Is there any positive knowledge you would give to the people who don't vote?
I would tell them if they can't come up with a reason why they should vote for themselves, come up with a reason why they should vote for someone else, for their parents, for their children, for more street lights, how they want a better community. Do it for someone else.
I'm Willow Jordan reporting from Youth Civic News, and I'm here with my grandfather, Willie Jordan.
Thank you.
News, reporter Ella presents a new recipe that can help feed the community. Over to you, Ella.
Thanks, Willow. Now that fall is upon us, what's not a better way to start the fall season than an easy and simple recipe? Pumpkin bread is the most delicious and easiest food you can make for yourself, family and friends, and your community. Take a look. Today we're going to make pumpkin bread, so make sure you screenshot this recipe and let's get started. First, preheat your oven to 350 degrees. In one of your bowls, mix your flour, baking soda, baking powder, salt, and pumpkin pie spice. With your fork, mix. Now with your second bowl, mix your sugar, oil, and applesauce with a whisk. Once everything is mixed together, add your pumpkin and mix again. When everything is mixed evenly, combine both mixtures together. Make sure you scrape everything out so nothing is wasted. Now mix evenly until there's no lumps. After that, you want to set that aside and grab your bread pan. Lather some butter all around and add a little flour and spread it around until it looks like this. Now you want to pour the bread batter into the bread pan. Make sure you scrape everything out so nothing is wasted. Cut a line in the middle and it's ready for the oven. Make sure you are oven mitts and let the bread bake for 60 minutes. Once the 60 minutes is up, take it out of the oven and let it sit for a few minutes. When the bread pan is safe to touch, use a straight edge to separate the pan and bread. This step is optional, but if you would like, slice the bread into thick slices and it should look something like this. You are all done. Dig in and enjoy your pumpkin bread. This pumpkin bread is the perfect way to feed your family, friends, and your community. Willow, what did you think about this recipe?
I think that this recipe is perfect for the rising fall weather. Substituting the egg with the applesauce is a great option for others with an egg allergy.
Thanks, Willow. I'm Ella Guanzon reporting for Youth Civic News. Back to you, Willow.
We Talk Weeklies after the talk on WPPMRP Philadelphia 106.5 FM. We Talk Weeklies after the talk with your boy Charles Gregory and the beautiful.
Sorry, autopilot.
Classy Lady Sparkle.
And the beautiful.
Lawrence.
And my guy.
Power.
Yeah, and we in the building. Hold on, one more time. One more again.
Power.
There we go. All right, so check this out, y'all. So that was our nice little young reporters out there doing some great things. Our little young journalists doing some great things out there in the community. You have a young person who is interested in media literacy, who's interested in journalism, interested in, understanding how to research stories and do their beats and want to be on television. This is what we're doing here in We Talk Weekly for our young folk. And so we use Civic News, and that's what that is. And so without further ado, Classy Lady Sparkle, you ready?
I'm ready. I just want to say
sure?
I really like that interview. I like Angelique. That civic moment, the information that we got.
Right.
It's people out here doing and making a difference, and not just for the monetary gain.
Exactly.
So, and I love that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, give it to me early.
All right. Well, we talked about just civic engagement. Well, this is something that can kind of be civic. It's a strike at Community College of Philadelphia. They put a stop to it. The college and AFT Local Union 2026 represents 1,200 faculty and staff. They reached a temporary contract deal literally hours before the strike was set to begin. The agreement includes wage increases, smaller class sizes, more staffing, and free student transportation. Now, we just talked about the importance of voting. So, and this is on the college level. The union had been negotiating for about 14 months after working with a contract since August of 2024. So co-president Renaya Chambliss stated, "We showed what can happen when faculty, staff, and students stand in real solidarity. Classes and activities are continuing as scheduled, and union members will vote on the agreement next week." So stay tuned to that. In other news, Philly honors its own. Did y'all hear about Will Smith being down here?
Yeah.
I wonder, can we give like whatever your special clapping hands? Can we get that real quick? The clapping the hands. All right, maybe not. Well, okay, yeah. Philly honors its own. Philly. I think Will Smith has talked about this in the past, that he didn't really feel like Philly has given him his flowers at times, but they are now. Will Smith now has a street named after him here in his hometown of Philadelphia. So on March 26th, the city renamed a portion of 59th Street to Will Smith Way in honor of the West Philadelphia native and global superstar. Will Smith Way is across the street from Overbrook High School, where Will Smith attended. Smith celebrated with Mayor Sherrell Parker, his mom, city officials, and fans, calling it the honor of a lifetime. The tribute comes just days before the release of his first album in 20 years, based on a true story, dropping yesterday, March 28th. It features collaborations with Smith's longtime, collaborator DJ Jazzy Jeff, and Tiana Taylor and Jack Ross are going to be featured on there.
Jack Frost? Jack Ross.
Ain't it Jack Ross? I think.
Jack Frost?
Yes.
Or Rick Ross? Which one? Gotta be Jack. Jack Frost from Philly.
Jack
That's my
Frost.
man.
I said Jack. Okay, Jack. Yes.
Okay,
Jack
it's got to
Frost.
be Jack.
Yes.
Shout out to Jack Frost in the building, my guy. No doubt.
Yeah, yeah. You know him?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what's up. All
absolutely,
right.
yep.
All right. Well, he need to come on and talk about the new album. Then.
Yeah, no shit.
In a heartfelt message, Smith told his fans, "Hey Philly, I love you. I'm yours, and you are mine. I will see you on the 4th of July." So the 4th of July part, that little cliffhanger is because I believe him and Sherelle Parker, he basically promised that they're going to come back for some type of concert for Philly on July 4th.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, we'll show some of the footage. I actually had the opportunity to get down there and got some good stuff. So I'll put out like all those clips. If you look on the website, if you look on Facebook, you posted some stuff, right? Yeah, Lawrence Sills actually posted a nice little clip of that particular press conference that Will Smith was down there. I mean, everyone from city council to Charlie Mack, everyone was down there.
seen him.
Everybody was in the
Yeah.
building. Yeah, no, for sure.
Yep. So July 4th, he'll be coming back, and I think we're gonna get a taste of his album that just dropped for the first time in 20 years.
Hold on one second. I just need to put you in jail for 1 second.
Because I said Jack.
You
'cause
still thinking about
What?
that?
Which way? 'Cause I said,
she said Jack Ross.
Jack, you should have known you
The
was going.
story is baloney. You people must be idiots. What are you doing? Are you people out of your mind?
wow.
Jack
All right,
Ross.
when he come up here, I know he gonna grind me up about it.
He's just only comes to Philly. Come on.
Okay.
We Philly.
All right,
Come on.
yeah.
We Philly. Come on.
All
You
right,
got it.
there it is.
Give
There
him
it is.
Class lead
All
round
right.
of
I
applause
take
for that.
accountability.
See,
Something
that's
they
what
say
I'm
women can't do.
I was about to
Yeah,
say, let me
I
give you a
got
round of
it.
applause
I'll
for that
take
one.
it.
And you're right there, no doubt.
I'll
Yes, sir.
take it on the chin. All right, this one is not such good news. There was a tragedy in Georgia. Two twin brothers, 19-year-old twin brothers, Qadir Malik Lewis and Nasir Raheem Lewis, were found
Very
dead
sad. Very sad.
with gunshot wounds on Bell Mountain. They're pretty much 90 miles from their home. Authorities initially called it a murder-suicide, but their family, the Lewis family, strongly disputes that claim, saying that the boys were inseparable, never got into fights, and were not familiar with Bell Mountain. And the family still wonders how they got there. Adding to this heartbreak, 42-year-old volunteer firefighter Scott Curlin has been charged with obstruction after he allegedly took pictures at the crime scene and distributed them.
I heard this. Yep.
The Georgia Bureau of Investigation says the images circulated among students onto social media. The twins' aunt, Samira Brawner, said, "I'm scared to pick up my phone because I know if I see that picture, I'll have a heart attack." Wow. Autopsy results are still pending with further forensic testing.
I'm glad that you actually reported that. Kudos to you with that because no one is talking about this. I'm only seeing it on kind of social media. I'm not hearing it on news heavy. I'm not hearing it anywhere on this. Should be national news. You're talking about twin boys who were. You're talking about like valedictorians,
Good students,
good
yes,
students,
absolutely.
and they were really good boys, and no one is talking about.
And
this.
so when you say that, you think about, okay, are they looking at mental health? The family is saying that wasn't a part of it. They got along extremely well, and
Yes,
then
they
they were coming out of the airport, and they were somewhere found that they never even
Never
knew
been to,
about,
yeah.
and they were close with their family. So things that when you have a close knit with your family, you kind of know vicinities and stuff on where you're familiar with, and they said they weren't familiar with that.
Very
so.
sad. Very sad.
Yeah,
Thanks
so
for reporting it. Yeah.
absolutely. All right, this little section, I call it Philly's Spark Note. So it's frustrating about this story because Philly has so many amazing things like historic landmarks, art statues, and community projects, but yet some people just can't resist damaging them. Well, the Philadelphia Portal faced vandalism and
Again?
Again. They had it offline. Well, it's back up now. Okay. So the portal faced vandalism and had a brief delay of being offline. The Philadelphia Portal has been repaired and now once again, can you say again?
Again?
Right. Connecting locals with the cities around the world. So at 8:30 a.m. This past Friday, the live streaming device came back to life, allowing Philadelphians to greet Dublin with a wave and a hello. Now, its current location it's currently at Love Park, but it won't be there for long. portal organizers confirm it will stay in Philly for at least 2 more years, but they have 3 potential new locations that are being under consideration. In 2026, the portal may move closer to Independence Hall for the nation's 250th birthday. Portal director Joseph Callahan says, I encourage everyone to love the portal, respect the portal, share the portal, and join us in connecting the world as one, without borders, without labels, and without prejudice.
Yeah, and I like that. I like that.
But that's honestly, sadly, that's so
That you got-
Philly.
yeah,
like
it is.
Yeah, but
Bad
maybe
things happen in Philly.
well, I don't know about that, but I think that if they do take it and get it closer to where, the tourist attractions are, it's going to be less vandalism because more
Yeah, but
cameras and more people are, they know that more people are watching.
So to speak, more eyes are going
Yeah,
on it.
yeah, absolutely.
I just don't like the idea of putting it where all the tourists is, because that take it away from Philadelphia. You need to put it in a place where it's truly Philadelphians. That's going
What?
to.
And then that's get vandalized. We
I
just
know,
said
I know.
this.
Which is
It's-
unfortunate, but it is what it is. Yeah.
Kind of, both of y'all kind of got a point because, yeah, tourism, but yeah, we need to keep it Philly. Like we need that to be where people like Love Park is a big thing in Philly. Yeah. Let's keep everybody into the love.
Well, then that's why it keeps getting vandalized.
So does anybody know where else like this portal is? Like what?
It's
what
in
other-
Dublin.
Yes.
Is that the only one that we?
No, I think they have a lot of them across.
Yeah.
I'm not
Okay.
sure where else, but where we're connected to, like if we're saying hi, people in
Right.
Dublin are saying hi back.
Okay.
So, and it's live. So I think that's
Yeah.
kind of cool. But I mean, if you keep on busting it up and
So no other
vandalizing-
states like in the United States have this portal.
Yeah, they do.
They do?
Yes,
Other
yeah.
states do?
Other states have
Okay.
it, and I think that they connect to other parts of the
Right.
world.
Okay.
But
Okay.
ours specifically is Dublin
That's ours.
right now.
That's our location.
Yeah, and they're saying that they're going to be moving it soon. So I just, hey, if anybody has any tips on the vandalism, I don't need the tips. Just tell the person like, hey, this is Philly, this is our home, and don't ruin things. Let's take care of what's ours.
Yeah.
That's it.
Check this out. I'm gonna read you a little. Okay, you gonna finish your story? Well, we
That
going.
was it.
Okay, so let me give you a little fact about the portals, because we were talking about where they were. It says the Portals project, initiated by portals.org, so that's where you can find it at, is a global network of interactive art installations that connect cities worldwide through live streaming technology. Here are some of the locations where these portals are currently active or planned. Philadelphia, of course, we here, shout out to Philly. Located, they say, is Love Park. The portal connect to Dublin, Ireland. What's Vilnius? Never heard of that. Vilnius? Never heard of that before. Lithuania and Lublin, Poland. It will soon include connections in other cities like Brazil. And then, let's see. Yeah. So those are the ones. New York City, USA, although the portal was temporarily relocated to Philadelphia. Oh, so the one that's in Philadelphia
They was
was
from
in New
New
York.
York.
Yeah.
Oh, so to Sizzle's point, they move them.
New York has one.
Well, New York, the one in New York is now in Philadelphia. So it was ours. now.
So and we have it for 2 more years.
Yeah, okay.
And then they're
I
gonna
see.
move it.
Yeah, so let me
Okay.
see. So we have in Ethiopia, planned for future integration through specific details are not yet available. Portals.org aims to expand the network further, creating a global bridge between cultures and cities. And so if you want to know anything about
hot.
those portals, that's dope. No, shout out to
Yeah.
shout out to the
All
portal.
right, that was y'all Philly Spark Note. That was your good news and bad news from your girl Classy Lady Sparkle.
Good news and bad news for Class Lady Sparkle. Pa, what's your thoughts on those? What are your thoughts on some of the things that Class Lady Sparkle did in her report?
Well. I mean, I like them, especially the portal idea. I believe that the portal, we definitely need to be more connected through different communities across the world, across the countries. And I think more connection allows us to understand each other a lot more. And I think that's one of the things that we may be lacking. We may be lacking understanding.
Exposure.
Yeah, exposure, understanding, accountability. And I believe if we know more about each other, we know, or not more about each other, if we understand everyone's not from the same background. Everyone's not has not grown up the same way.
Right.
Whether you be black, white, Hispanic, whatever it is. But I believe that connection, we can all realize that we all have something in common. Everything starts from a baseline. Everybody learns something. You don't just become a certain way. You are taught that as you grow up. So I think as older individuals, even as younger individuals, I believe that the connection is very important in today's world, especially with what I call the false societal norms that come up through the internet. Like she said, everything's internet.
Yeah.
And nowadays people will take everything from the internet and that'll be like the rock
Their
of
holy
what it
grail
is.
of truth,
Right, the holy grail of truth. When it's not really a holy grail of truth, it's what you put out there. And a lot of times you have what they call it, Generation Z or millennials. You have too many people that take what they see or hear from the internet and make that a norm.
Yeah.
So, and I believe that's it's a big problem today. So I feel that's really important. I love the ideas of the portals. I haven't been to it yet, but I love the idea of it.
Yeah. It's no sound though. It's just kind of like,
Oh,
all
just
visual.
visual.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
visibility. Hey, that's not bad.
Maybe every
I just
couple.
want to see one of their like something we don't have. Like in Philly, I'm used to seeing squirrels. So squirrels don't scare me, but
God.
people who ain't used. So I'm
the
wondering.
squirrels I saw scare me. I'm trying
Well,
to
I did
You
get
ever been on
chased.
Temple campus?
Yeah.
Those squirrels, they steal candy bars and everything. I'm trying to tell you.
That's true. That's true. But you know how every little city has their own thing. I'm wondering what's over there that they have that even we don't have audio, but they can show us that.
That
is-
they have, that only they have.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Interesting. In Poland.
Yeah.
Is Poland cold? Poland is cold, right? Poland.
I think so.
Yeah, Poland is cold.
What do you think about the Will Smith story? Do you think it's about time that Philly has, like, they made a mural of him, but I don't know. Has Philly shown enough love to Will Smith specifically?
For me, I believe so. I mean,
Okay.
we
Yeah.
always show Will Smith love.
Yeah, I believe so. And I believe, for something like that, for someone so big, I believe it's time. Everything
overdue.
comes
It's
in
been
time.
time.
It is
Yeah,
overdue.
absolutely.
Because Kevin Hart got his flowers. He
Yeah.
got his stuff and all that.
I mean, I say we gotta give big ups to anybody who's making it out of Philly or who's doing things and that's from Philly. Just like everybody from New York. I mean, you know how New York rep. Everybody in New York, they go all out, and we the same. I mean, I'm pretty sure y'all heard it. Philadelphia, we are the most passionate.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
so it's about time, and we need to have some passion about that too.
Right.
For sure. And I mean, they say Philly versus everybody, right? And I think that Philly need to. I mean, we're known as this crab in a basket city, right? But I think slowly but surely a lot of that is changing, and I think we're showing a lot of connectedness, a lot of community, and that's what. For me, we talk weekly. That's what we love everybody, right? You doing something, we bringing you to the show.
But this guy right here, he's not telling you the whole thing.
Okay.
I knew
tell
this guy
us.
for over 20 years. And I'm going to tell you, him back in the Temple days, he was the one to pull everybody together. Like, he was the one to get everybody, when he had to, hey, man, come on, let's go. He pulled everybody together, and he will make you think about certain different things. That's why I was like, wait a minute, I want to say something. Let me say something. Then when he said come up here, I was like, what?
Come on down, like the price is right. You want to talk? Let's go. I'll call it the way I see it.
But that even alone is speaking highly of, one, you accepting the invitation, but you extending the invitation. You know what I mean? Just to say how much community that showed, to say, hey, you know what, brother? I see that you've always commented. I know who you are. Come on and be a part of this conversation. So that's admirable as well.
You got something? You was gonna say something? You wanted to say something?
Who, me, what?
No, all right, no doubt.
I got something to say.
You got you. You always got something.
Yeah,
to say.
I
You
got
gotta have
something to
Hold on,
say.
wait, let me do it.
Yeah.
See, he got some sound effects too.
Right. Well, what I got to say is that. Oh.
No, the ones you do with your mouth.
Yeah.
Which one?
You always doing
I
something.
know, right now.
beatboxing, something.
Or the movie man.
What up, cool?
Always doing something.
What I wanted to say is that if y'all like the stories tonight, the conversation, then y'all can definitely support. This is independent media. We don't always ask for money, but if you like to give that, you can go to our Cash App at # We Talk Weekly. Or if you can't do that, then go to our website. You go to www.wetalkweekly.com. Go to any one of our social media platforms at We Talk Weekly. Subscribe, share, comment, all that. And that's it. Like, that's the way you give back.
No doubt, no doubt. Okay, but I like that little transition you made. That was a good one. I do
I
more
got
of that.
something to say. That was your good news and bad news from Classy Ladies
It was
Podcast.
smooth. Smooth.
Y'all should see my DJ skills, man.
All right.
Oh, see? Yo, why you going?
I was giving you
whatever.
no doubt. So, Lawrence, you ready for us? It don't look like our guest coming on, our next guest. So we got some time, or you just want to talk a little bit more. We can talk a little bit more.
Well, what's this work on that?
Yeah.
I got a are you ready?
You could go ahead.
No, I was going to talk about Elon Musk.
Mm-hmm.
Is he selling? Did he sell Twitter?
Oh God.
Did y'all hear about that?
Look that up. Let me fact check
Yeah,
that right
I
there.
think he's either selling Twitter, and it's going to be something about AI X, almost like a ChatGPT, but Twitter is what I think I saw.
I know he's doing something.
And he sold it for like $33 billion.
Let me see. Wow.
Okay, there we
Fact
go.
check.
He already sold it?
Wait, hold up. Give me
Hold up.
give me my sizzle. Oh yeah, that, and give me my cooking. Give me my sizzle. Okay, all right, go ahead with your fact checking. Yeah, I mean.
So he already sold it.
Yeah, he already sold it. All right, y'all. So if y'all don't know, Flash, right, coming in hot.
Yeah, go ahead, talk about
Yeah, it's coming in hot. All right, so the question was, did Elon Musk sell Twitter? Because we didn't know, right? And so formerly Twitter, formerly X, now I don't know what it's going to be called now. So Elon Musk has sold his social media platform X, formerly known as Twitter, to his artificial intelligence company X. Well, it's still his. To his company. All right, so he just pivoting, y'all. He moving around some money. That's what that is. In an all-stock deal valued at $33 billion. The announcement was made a stock deal. Y'all heard that, right? An all-stock deal valued at $33 billion. The announcement was made on March 28, 2025. I didn't hear that. This transaction effectively shifts ownership from X Corp's investors to those of XAI, raising XAI's valuation to $80 billion. You heard what I said, right? So we're moving some things around, and because it's stocks, the first evaluation right now is an $80 billion valuation. Musk emphasizes that the integration of X and XAI would combine their data, computational resources, and talent to deliver enhanced users' experience and further their shared mission of advanced knowledge and truth. Although Musk originally purchased Twitter at $44 billion in 2022, the current valuation represents a significant recovery from its low point in late 2024, when the platform was estimated to be worth only about 20% of its original cost. The interesting thing about that is that's a quick lesson in why you should have your companies, right? Because you can move around things in companies, because typically it's not, X isn't Elon Musk, right? X is his own corporation, right? And so he has another corporation to which he just literally threw it over there to another corporation, right? Wow. And so, which was estimated at a valuation of $33 billion, now valuation to $80 billion. That's a master class in how you move this money around and how you move things around. Go ahead.
Well, see, that reminds me of the game. You know how you used to see the game, and you know they got the ball and they got the cups and they move it around and the balls.
That's
and
right.
which one is under?
That's all he's doing.
Right.
All he's doing is strategically moving money around, and all he's doing is diverting attention to something else, so you can't see the other hand behind his back of what he's doing.
There you go.
Boom.
Wow.
See, this is what I thought. This is why I say we need to be critical thinkers. If you think critically, you'll see that and be like you see how that was a big news.
Right.
But if you're a critical thinker, you're not just going to think about that. You're going to think about, okay, what is he really doing?
That's right.
Because look at everything that he's doing with the government. I mean, I don't really go in, too deep into the political. But if you look at the things that he's doing, he's trying to move things around. I don't know if you heard about what's happening to Tesla and everything, and how he was begging people not to sell. That's a power move to sell to himself, so that way he can increase his profit margin and try to maintain some of his wealth. That's all it is. He's just switching it around and holding one hand behind his back so we can't see what's going on in front of us. That's like a person waving like this in front of you, but you don't see them. Like I did security for almost like 23, 24 years, bodyguard work. When you on stage, imagine everybody with a color purple on. It's just one person with that color purple, with the same color, but that color sticks out a little bit more than the other. But if you're critical thinking, you could see that color that's sticking out. You see what I'm saying? So that's all it is. He's just moving money around and hiding his hand so you can't see what he's going to do. That's all that is, and creating a diversion. That's why it's such a big, how you say, it's a big topic. But really, it's not a big topic. It's just he moving money around.
That's what billionaires do.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure.
That's generational wealth.
Yeah.
I talk about it all the time.
There you go.
All the time. I believe our people need to think more about generational wealth. Yes, it's monetary, but you can't have generational. I mean, for me, I just feel like you can't have one without the other. If you want to have generational wealth, you got to try to monetarily get it up. But you have to also have the generational wealth and the knowledge to get to the monetary value, to increase the monetary value. And then that way you could pass it on through generations. I mean, that's what it is all about, because who wants to work for the rest of their life?
Yeah.
We was just talking before. I said, I ain't trying to work for the rest of my life. I'm trying to just sit back and watch my money grow.
I know that's right. We Talk Weeklies after the talk of WPPMLP Philadelphia 106.5 FM. We Talk Weeklies after the talk with your boy Charles Gregory and the beautiful.
Classy Lady
And
Sparkle.
the beautiful.
Lauren Sizzle.
And my guy. Power. In the building. Sizzle, you ready for me?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, good. All right, let this hit there.
All right, so make sure you guys subscribe to We Talk Weekly on all social media and major podcast platforms. Support us even further. Make a donation on Cash App to $ We Talk Weekly. And you can also go to our WeTalkWeekly.com and you can donate via PayPal. All right, so Power Couple. Where's my music?
Oh, my bad. I forgot about it. Let me see if I can find Yeah, holla at me. There you go.
Thank you. So, Power Couple Jay-Z and Beyonce are considering taking legal action against Kanye West amid his recent rant that included a horrendous attack against their own children, their twin children. So Kanye West, once again, he goes on his rants. He is posting a series of tweets on X attacking several celebrities, including ex-wife Kim Kardashian, Playboy Cardi, Iggy Azalea, and Kendrick Lamar, before turning his Twitter fingers on Jay-Z and Beyonce. So Jay-Z posted, and I'm it's literally disgusting that he would even stoop this low in what he's attacking their children. But he posted, he said, wait, has anyone ever seen Jay-Z and Beyonce's younger kids? They are, I'm not going to use the word because he used the R word when it comes to a mental disability. They are that, like literally, he's saying they're blank. No, like literally. And this is why artificial insemination is such a blessing. Having blank children is a choice. So then he immediately posts a follow-up tweet saying, I need everyone to know that I took the post about Jay-Z and Beyonce's family down and Jerry Lorenzo's family down because there is a possibility of my Twitter being canceled, not because I'm a good person. I took it down like Down syndrome. Get it? Am I right? Am I right?
Christ, yeah.
Just out of pocket. Out of pocket.
What?
Yes. So Page 6 reports that a source close to J and B stated that Jay-Z and Beyonce are aware of the post Kanye has since deleted and are discussing how they want to handle this situation, whether it be privately and or in a legal matter. And then, Mama Tina Knows shared a video on Instagram of her famous corny joke. She said, so on the set, in the video, she's saying, so I'm on the set of a photo shoot today for my book, and I wanted to tell you a corny joke. What happens when a snowman throws a tantrum? He has a meltdown. Y'all know that's funny. That's Mama. Mama Tina. So, but she also wrote, it's hard to remain positive and classy in the face of ignorance and evil, but I know that no weapon formed against me or my family shall prosper. Yes. So, hopefully they get their just due, because that is just insane. Yeah, that is crazy. Just attacking those innocent kids. No, because karma.
Yeah. You heard what happened with LeBron.
Speaking of which,
I was about to say assist. That's a no-look pass.
yes, the alley-oop. All right, so let's get into this uncle versus nephew beef going mad. So this beef is getting uglier and uglier. Stephen A. Smith has been a harsh critic of LeBron James, but LA Lakers superstar LeBron James sat down for an interview on the Pat McAfee show when he was asked about his beef with Stephen A. Smith. So for those of you who have not seen, a video went viral of LeBron James approaching Stephen A. Smith, who was sitting courtside at the March 6th Lakers versus New York Knicks game. So previously, LeBron has asked Stephen A. Smith to stop criticizing his son. Well, Bron let him have it courtside, and if you see the video, you could see that it's pretty heated. It's pretty heated, and it's just like LeBron is towering over Stephen A. Smith. So Stephen A. Smith did reflect later on his ESPN's First Take. He said, I really understood where he was coming from. He was very, very upset. I could tell. But he could have called me. I'd have came to see him. The way it's written is how he's saying it, so it's just hard to read. I'd have had a conversation with him. He could have been just as upset face to face, man to man, as opposed to being courtside at the game. I had no idea that everybody saw it until I woke up this morning. But it is what it is in the end. Like I said, as a father, I get it. I'm not offended. I'm not insulted. I don't have any animosity or animus towards LeBron James for this. Nothing like that. Well, these two can't seem to keep each other's names out their mouths. Some people are saying LeBron won, and some are saying there are no winners. So let's just take a look at the beef highlights between these two contenders. So Stephen A. Smith, he's been calling LeBron a liar.
Oh,
he states that he talked about Bronny James not being ready for the NBA, but he directs his comments more towards LeBron due to him pulling strings to get his son drafted onto the Lakers. And then Stephen A. Smith claims he gave LeBron props about him being a good player, father, and philanthropist, but he's not the GOAT, and he will always have him listed as number 2 to Michael Jordan. And Stephen A. Smith said that he would have gotten his butt kicked because if LeBron would have put his hands on him, he would have swung on him.
Oh my gosh!
So
Stephen A. cut it out.
So LeBron talked about his son Bronny James in his interview with Pat McAfee. He talked about his son Bronny James' cardiac arrest. And according to statistics, while sudden cardiac arrest in young athletes is rare, it's estimated that approximately 1 in 40,000 to 1 in 80,000 youth athletes die from it each year. So as a parent, from a parental perspective, yeah, LeBron seems like he's overprotective of his son, because it is. Also, LeBron James posted a clip on Instagram of Stephen A. Smith boxing.
Kevin Hart was talking about him on that one. That was crazy.
Yes. And then he followed it up with the womp, womp, womp. Yes. But, I mean, one thing is for sure, after an offer made by our friend, celebrity boxing founder and CEO Damon Feldman. Both LeBron James and both LeBron James and Stephen A. Smith can settle their beef in the boxing ring.
Oh, you already know how that's gonna go. you already, even with training, Smith need to sit down.
So who won this?
You already know.
Who won this?
Oh, we ain't even gotta say that one. Man, he could pluck him in the head and knock his head to his ankles.
Pluck him in the head.
Pluck him in the head. Pluck him in the head. Just pluck him in the head. No doubt.
Yeah, but you got to see how he pulled up on him in that boxing video.
Oh, that boxing video.
Yo, yeah. I can't. Yeah, we just go. Yeah, we go do that one alone.
Stephen A. Smith, he just said, "Yeah, that video looked bad." It's like, what can you say about that?
But I just found out he ain't even played no game or nothing on no serious level, and he got so much to say
all the time.
It's like, bro, It's like you talking about track and field, but you can only walk at warp slow speed, bro. What are you doing?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yes. All right, the Celebrity Sizzle Award of the week goes to Tyler Perry. He always getting an award, but he is once again stepping up.
Another one.
Yes, another one. He's once again stepping up in a big way to provide opportunities for filmmakers with his Tyler Perry Studios Dream Collective program. So the program is designed to identify, cultivate, and elevate the next wave of dynamic filmmakers with an eye on historically underrecognized voices. So their three-tiered initiative brings together new and emerging directorial voices and seasoned professionals in film and television, placing emphasis on practical training, mentorship, and career stability. So 5 filmmakers will receive $30,000 to shoot a short film in Greater Atlanta, Georgia.
Nice.
So as far as the program, they have the calls for submissions, which is going to take place from April 17th to May 1st. So you have between that time to get your application in.
The world is going to submit for that.
Yes. And they have 3 rounds. So in the first round, 1,000 submissions of past work and accompanying materials that best articulate the filmmaker's vision will be accepted. Through the submission process, 100 primary finalists will be selected and notified in May 2025. So in the round 2, 100 finalists will next participate in the virtual sessions. And this is the 4-week virtual sessions that are designed to educate, inspire, and cultivate a lasting community. The sessions will include an opportunity to meet with a director and creative collaborators covering topics that include career origin, the art of collaboration, and case studies of trials and triumphs on and off the set. Nice. And then in the final round, the 100 finalists will be invited to submit their short film scripts and accompanying materials to that best articulate the filmmaker's vision. So after evaluation of the short film submissions, the 10 winners will be selected and announced in July 2025. So I kind of like this program because although it's going to start with a lot of people, each round you do have an opportunity to get something from the program. So that's dope.
Yeah, that's nice.
Black excellence, baby.
Absolutely. And we need more film out here, especially when you talk about, filmmakers of color. They're producing content from their experiences.
Like this morning, I was reading something on Instagram actually about it was Tyler Perry, it was Cat Williams, and it was 50 Cent. They're all opening. Cat Williams bought a base, what used to be a base, and he's turned that into studios. And 50 Cent also did the same thing. So, but the most important one is Tyler Perry, because I believe that space that he bought used to be white owned or slave.
It was a plantation.
So he took that and he's rewriting the history of that. So and creating, and black excellence, creating more opportunities for us people. But once again, accountability. We have to go out and get it.
Exactly.
We can't just sit and wait for this. So I thank you for that one again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Is that you? That's it?
Yeah, I'm your girl Lauren Sizzle, and that was the Sizzle.
And that was Sizzle, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your boy Charles Gregg with the beautiful
Classy Lady
and the
Sparkle.
beautiful
Lauren Sizzle.
and my guy
Power.
in the building. Yes. So,
sir.
without further ado, someone with whom I have a tremendous amount of respect for. You know, I love these interviews. Why? Because we interview these people that's really doing some things, man. And we gonna make sure that we do it right. And so, without further ado, Classy Lady, who do we have today? And who do we have today?
Today we have the lovely Deneen Hatfield. She was born in Philadelphia with roots stretching from Coatesville, PA to the Turks and Caicos Island. She's a woman of many talents. She's an actress, an author, a former TV reporter whose journey has taken us from the set of Law & Order SVU to the stage of the Walnut Theater. She's a passion storyteller, empowering minds through her novel Journey to Wholeness. Let's dig deep into her incredible journey. Y'all already know what to do. Let's give a warm We Talk Weekly welcome to Deneen Hatfield.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Did you have some little technical problems getting on?
I did. I believe I was on the wrong link, just hanging out.
Oh, well, you're here now.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, you know, one thing that we always ask when you come on, we want to know, how was your day? How did it start? And how is it going?
My day is going good. I took my daughter, she's 6 years old. I took her to see Snow White. So it was a good day. She got what she wanted to do today. And relaxing, yes.
That was nice. Shout out to you and having attended our alma mater, Temple University. Were you at Klein?
I was at Annenberg.
Oh, Klein College of. Oh, what year did you?
Annenberg Theater. That
Yeah,
was
because it was
radio.
right, but it was a different name, I think,
Yeah,
at that point.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I came out 2003. I did Temple Update.
Yeah.
I was their health news anchor at that time. It was very competitive to get on Temple Update. I had to audition twice. But yeah, Annenberg School, that was my main school there.
Wow. I didn't know it was that, competitive getting on there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it's
awesome.
a news program and it does air in Atlantic City. So they take it very seriously.
Yeah. They do some really great work there because I know now they're expanding. They're creating this whole enterprise now that's including, broadcast, radio, and the community as well. I forget the name of what they're creating now, but they're working on a building that kind of house all of the programs that they have. So that's awesome.
Oh, great.
Well, speaking of your Temple days and going back into how you had to, audition a few times, what got you started in I'll just say the whole media, because if I try to itemize everything, you wear a lot of hats. So from that media perspective, what put that fire under your feet to get you started?
Well, even in high school, I went to Coatesville Area Senior High School. Shout out to Cash. And I always envisioned myself doing something in media. I did something in high school. It was called WCHS. So I always seen myself in front of the camera in some way or some capacity. But after high school, I went to the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, and they just did not have a program for broadcast journalism. So I applied to Temple. And from there, that's where I was really able to nurture those dreams of becoming a TV reporter at that time.
So you did reporting in Turks and Caicos.
I did.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, my father is born and raised in Turks and Caicos. That's where he lives currently. And when I went out there to do my internship back in, I'm aging myself a little bit now.
You don't have to give years.
When I went to intern there some years back when I was in college at Temple, because I did an internship at Fox News and I also did an internship at WHYY. But I also interned in Turks and Caicos at their TV station. And upon graduation, I had planned on moving to Turks and Caicos back then, but some things kind of fell apart and it just didn't happen. But 2017 is when I took the leap of faith. I had some connections with the person that owned his TV station on the island. And I went out there, they hired me on the spot, and I just moved everything, just uprooted my life and moved to the Caribbean.
Wow, awesome. So what I guess what as far as like reporting and the information, what differences do you find between like reporting there and the work that you did here in the States?
Compared to being, but first of all, being on the island, a lot of things are a lot slower. The pace is slower, and I didn't do any live news per se. Everything was taped. So I had a lot more time to get my stories together. And I didn't have anything to go out and rush to cover anything live. So it was a lot more slower pace. That's the main thing that I could compare it to. And then the other part too was I also did weather. I did the weather, but I am not a meteorologist. So I would, the copy would be there for me to read. So that was the other part. I was a weather reporter, I was a TV reporter, and I was a weekly host. So I wore many hats there at that station at that time.
Wow.
How's that transition from acting to kind of like journalism? How is, the transition from that? Was that a big shift?
It wasn't really such a big shift because all through college, I did acting classes alongside my broadcast journalism classes. After college, I even moved to New York, where I had an agent at the time, where I was traveling to auditions. And at that time, I wasn't focused on broadcast news at that time. But when it was time to get on camera to follow or to cover a story, I was ready to do that because I was trained to do that at Temple. It's such a wonderful program at Temple. It really does prepare you to do the real world work as a journalist.
Yeah. I was in their master's program there in 2021 to 2022. It was a great program, but they kind of like tailored it to fit post-pandemic restrictions. So we weren't, I was a little sad. We weren't able to do a lot of the things that they had, like when I was applying and I heard about, I was just a little disappointed that we couldn't go to like different stations and be able to do like a lot of that stuff. But it was a, great program nonetheless. Yeah. So, can you talk a little bit about your fiction novel, Journey to Wholeness?
Yes. My fiction novel was published in 2013. It is a book loosely based on my life as a teenager who struggled with self-esteem. And I'm still passionate about the book because I would go into high schools to speak to teenagers about self-esteem, the importance of loving yourself. And I was fortunate enough to have the book translated into a stage play at the Walnut Street Theater in 2015. So I plan on having another play there. Since COVID, I wasn't able to get that same intimate theater that I had last time. So I hope to have another play there sometime next year.
Awesome. So what was some, impact from the novel and your travels to speak at high schools and the play? What would you say was like some impact or maybe some, feedback that some of the students gave you based on their experience?
Well, after my talk, I had one young lady in Louisiana. I went to speak at a school in Bastrop High School, and she came up to me and said that her boyfriend was abusive towards her because during my talk, I'm talking about loving yourself, um, and really demonstrating the difference between what royalty is and what someone who may not treat you as being royal or someone of quality. Because a lot of teenagers, everything is done or they're looked at the exterior, but on the inside, they're dying on the inside. And so, really unpacking what love is and what loving yourself looks like. And so that led her to tell me something so intimate that she was going through physical abuse at home with a boyfriend in high school. So just the seeds of being planted of what it means to love yourself and not being in situations like that will harm you. So that was really the biggest impact for me.
Wow, that's awesome. And I think that's like really like a pivotal time. And this is just me, personally. I think that's a pivotal time to kind of reach somebody that's dealing with those types of issues. It's young to go through domestic violence as a teen. That's really young. That's really young. But like, being able to have someone, come and talk to them and having your book and your play as a resource, I think that's awesome. And it's a great opportunity to reach, young teens that are going through that. So that's
Yes.
awesome.
I also I heard you say that when you were younger that you were insecure, and a lot of times there's a famous saying that says you have to live life forward to understand it backwards. And I feel like sometimes we are placed in those situations where we feel insecure to become adults to say, hey, I'm that voice for that other little girl or that other person that I need to pour into. From your bio, you have a daughter. So what would you tell your daughter that you would have even told yourself then that you didn't get the same advice that gave you the motivation to start writing, to start acting, to start living in your truth?
Yeah. Well, my daughter, she's 6 now, but by the time when my daughter's name is Harmony, by the way, when Harmony was 3, I would tell her I'm taking her to daycare. And as I'm driving her to daycare, I would get her to chant her affirmations at 3 years old, even though she didn't know what they meant all the time. But she would say, I am a leader. I am not a follower. I am loved. My mommy loves me. I mean, we would go through a couple of different chants, and she still does it till this day. At 6 years old, she knows what it means when she says, I love myself. And now we're working on expressing myself because she's at the age now where if she cries, she'll try to hold it in. And I'm now really focusing on and teaching her it's okay to cry. I think that growing up during the time that I grew up in that era, it was don't cry, stop crying. What are you crying about? But it's okay to cry. And when you cry, you need to express to me why you're crying. And so I'm focusing on that as well with her because that's a part of her self-esteem.
Wow.
And I never want her to grow up as an adult woman holding those feelings in, holding the pain in, let it out, but explain to me what it is.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at with her. And that's what I'm working on with her currently.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I grew up with low self-esteem as well. And a lot of those affirmations I had to learn as an adult. So it would have been nice to learn those things when I was young. So I just think that's amazing that you're, instilling those values and those things in your daughter. Because if, just imagine like a child when they grow up with that and learning all that versus a child who doesn't, and the things that you think you can be as a child with those affirmations versus someone who grew up and did not. So
Yeah.
Yes.
I got a question because you mentioned affirmations, and you once your daughter was brought up, you smiled from ear to ear. So I know that's your heart right there. Um,
Yeah.
when we think of the things that was traumatic to us as young people, what was one of those experiences that stood out for you that makes you want to make sure that you instill those affirming principles to your daughter? The books that you write, the things that you do, the mission that you push through right now. What was one of those moments that truly stood out for you to say, you know what, I need to make sure that, my baby don't go through things like this?
Wow. Um, I would say for me, well, two things. One, being in high school. Being in high school was very hard for me. On the outside looking in, I think people judge the exterior again of what a person looks like, but on the inside, I was struggling. I never felt like I fit in really any clique. I felt very lonely most of my high school career, but I always had a plan that I was going to go to college. That was in the back of my mind. I always knew I wanted more. But for my daughter now at her age, I want her to feel at home in her body, meaning I want her to feel um, self assured where she doesn't need to have the friends. It's nice to have them, but I want her to feel whole. And that's why I wrote the book. It's a journey to wholeness. We're not going to get there overnight. And I didn't have that as a teenager. I didn't feel whole. Um, I also really seeked for love outside of me. And my relationship with God has shown me that love has always been on the inside of you, and I've always been here guiding you. But I didn't learn that years later. So I would, if I could do anything, is if I could leave that with her, I've done my job to teach her that love is already inside of her, and God is love.
Fantastic. What things did you have coming up? I mean, you have done some plays, and real quick, I want to know this because you're not shy to the stage. You're not foreign to the stage. Do you have a monologue that most people who act has like their perfect monologue? Do you have a monologue that you remember that someone asked you to do and you could just do right off the cuff?
You know what? I used to. That's a good question. That's a really good question. Um, I took my daughter to an audition just 2 weeks ago, and I
Okay,
memorized her serial monologue because I'm trying to get her into acting.
that's
Next
funny.
time, next time, because I used to have a really dramatic monologue that I would do all the time.
All right.
And
So
by the way,
how did the serial monologue go?
oh my gosh, where are my corn pops? Where are my Kellogg's corn pops? Corn pops commercial.
Let's give a round of applause for that. That is so fun. And so what do you have coming up, next that, the world should know about you and some of the things that you're doing, yeah. And where they could get your
Well,
book. Yeah.
yes, well, I'm working on my website currently. I'll put out my Instagram and my email address. So for those who would like to pre-purchase my book, I'll put up my email address. But I'm working on another book called Dear Dreams, which would be a sequel to Journey to Wholeness. And I will also plan to have another stage play in the next, probably first quarter of next year. But my email address, I could put that up right now.
Okay.
Awesome. Also, you was on the set of Law and Order, and I believe you were next to greats like the Samuel L. Jackson. Do you have any stories or memories from that you can tell us and share about, I guess, what segment y'all did?
For the Law and Order SVU, I remember doing background and I was a pedestrian. And Ice-T was probably a foot away from me. It was cold. It was in the winter time. And as an actress, as we know, we're doing the same thing over and over and over again. So I wasn't in conversation with him or anything. It was really trying to get the scene done. And same with Freedom Land. That was the movie that it was back then with Samuel L. Jackson.
Awesome. What's the legacy you want to leave behind?
The legacy that I would want to leave behind is wanting not just teenage girls, but also boys to love themselves and really have a relationship with God and seeking God for their God-given purpose. That's the legacy, that she loved herself. She had her journey to wholeness. And I would love my daughter to also follow in those footsteps of just loving herself and seeking God as well.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I'm going to put this up because you put it in the chat and I want everyone to see. Does this look accurate?
Yes.
There you go. So they can contact you at JTW Productions 127@gmail.com and your IG. Go ahead, y'all. Slide in her inbox, man. She got you at DENNEAN_Handfield. All right. So make sure you reach out to her. Anything that you need. Is there anything else that what about the little girls? Like, say for example, a young lady by the age of 6. All right, is looking at this video. What would you tell that young lady?
I would tell her that you are beautiful. I would tell her to look in the mirror every day. You are beautiful, and say, I am beautiful. I am loved. And I have purpose. God loves me. God has a plan for my life. I would tell her to start saying those things because it would start to plant the seeds early on. And as she gets older, her life would reflect that, as long as she's pouring those positive affirmations in her life, that she's already loved.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. That's awesome. Listen, well, we want to tell you here, We Talk Weekly. Well, we love you. We're hugging you and all that stuff because that's what we do here, because you are important. You are loved. All right. So we telling you that right here. We Talk Weekly, right? So we want to thank you for coming on the show. Is there anything else that, we didn't get to that you would love for anyone who's watching to know?
No, thank you for having me. I would love to come back once I get the second book completed, and I'll of course have my other books ready to purchase, and then the play. I would love to share news on that when that is released as well.
Fantastic. All right, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Look, I want to give you a round of applause to you. Thanks for coming on the show. And one thing that we say on the show is once you come on the show, you are more than welcome to come back because this is what we do. You're a friend to the show now. So reach out and come back on the show. You promise you do that?
Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, y'all. So I don't want y'all to go anywhere. Actually, that's our show, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to sign out. So why don't you start with us first? So I'd like to thank everyone for tuning into the show. I'm going to start with you, Deanna. So tell everybody. Give a little sign out.
Thank you for tuning into the show at We Talk Weekly Radio.
That's what's up. That's what's up. I'm your boy, Charles Gregory, the beautiful.
Classy Lady Sparkle.
And a beautiful
Lauren Sizzle.
And my guy.
Power.
And this is We Talk Weekly, y'all. We out here like last year. Peace. Thanks, Deanna.
All right.